Welcome everyone to Finch Cadillac. My name's Kevin DeBrita and I am one of our Cadillac specialists. Today we're going to take a look at the 2020 XT5 Premium Luxury. Now maybe you're thinking of taking this vehicle for a test drive and you'd like to show up to the dealership with a little bit more information, or maybe you already own an XT5 and you want to get to know it a little bit better. I'll do a quick walk around outside as well as get into a little bit more detail on the inside once we review the exterior. Before we get to the exterior, just want to touch base on the remotes. You do get two remotes with every Cadillac as expected. Whether you're driving a Cadillac or a General Motors vehicle, you might recognize this button right here. Some people know what it is. Others have had it on the remote and thought it was broken ever since they owned it. This is the remote start button. And to activate the remote start button on this Cadillac or any General Motors vehicle with this system, push the lock button, hold the start button for 3 seconds, and that'll start your car. If you decided not to start your car and you wanted to turn it off, you could hit the start button again, and that will turn the remote start off. While we're at the front of the vehicle, I just want to point out the front parking sensors. This vehicle has front and rear parking sensors, and when we take a look at the driver information center, you'll be able to see how those work and how you get notified. Got the LED lights in the turn signals, plus in the mirrors we have a lane change alert. Hopefully you can see that insignia there. Blind spot monitors have been on vehicles for quite some time. Lane change alert is an upgrade to that. So a blind spot monitor is only going to pick up cars right in your blind spot. So right about here. And if the car is not in your blind spot, it is not going to alert you. With a lane change alert, it scans back so that cars that are rapidly approaching the vehicle are going to be picked up before they actually enter your blind spot. So really great feature. It's definitely kept me safe on a few occasions. Looking at the door handles, we have our illuminated door handles on the Premium Luxury, and this is our keyless access button. You'll notice we've got them on all 4 doors, and you can see the plunger move up and down when we're locking and unlocking the vehicle. So depending on how the vehicle is programmed, you can program it to unlock the door that you're at, or you can program it to unlock all the doors in the vehicle. That will be in the radio settings, which we'll get to later. I'm gonna unlock that vehicle for us. Move around to the back of the vehicle. Of course, rear parking sensors to go along with your front parking sensors. Rear camera tucked in here. Keep in mind, rear cameras do get dirty on occasion. If they do, just give it a quick wipe, and that will give you a much clearer picture when reversing the vehicle. We're going to open the tailgate using the kick release. So when you are opening the tailgate, the sensor is right in about here underneath, and it's that kick and the pull back that actually opens the door. So you always want to make sure you do a nice smooth kick in, pull back. The lights will flash. When it closes, you get a chime, and the tailgate is now closing. I'm going to open that back up for us and show you a few things about the cargo area. As you can see, this one has the cargo cover, which is removable. It's just spring fit on either side, locks into place so that you can keep your cargo concealed. Nothing revolutionary there. This is our cargo fence. I forget exactly what it's called, but it pops into these holes on both sides, and you can slide it back and forth. So whether you want to keep items at the front of your cargo area, for example, washer fluid, jumper cables, anything you might keep in the vehicle on a regular basis, or if you want to keep it closer to the back so that you don't have your groceries sliding all over the place, really convenient feature. We have our cargo net in this one, and then underneath, cargo net of course gets in the way. We've actually got a real spare tire. Some of these vehicles will come with spare tires or inflator kits, and then the jack of course is underneath the spare tire. You can see the cargo net sometimes get in the way. People sometimes like cargo nets, and people sometimes don't. So if you're a customer who does not want one, you can either order one without it or keep it in the bottom of the vehicle. This is the release for your hatch, your power release hatch. You can do it from the remote. We have our power release on the remote. Then you have it on the tailgate. There's also a button inside, and then of course we have our kick open and kick close. One feature a lot of people are not aware of is this is actually programmable. So if you wanted to set it, it's called a 3/4 position, but technically it can be programmed almost anywhere. Just push and hold this button. The lights will flash. And now we've programmed, when we're using the 3/4 setting, that the height will only open until this height. Great if you park underground or you have a really low garage and you want to make sure that you're not going to damage anything on the tailgate of the vehicle. Also, if you ever had roof racks installed, maybe you had a kayak on top, you wouldn't want to damage the kayak or the tailgate. Close that up. Just quickly talk about the gas tank. So there is no cable to open and close. It's just a push spring, open it up, and it's a capless gas tank. So no cap to worry about. Just make sure you get the nozzle all the way in so that you open up both this flap and the flap in behind it when fueling your vehicle. Speaking of fuel, regular fuel is just fine, and that's actually what's recommended by General Motors. Not much to talk about in the back. We do have our releases here, so we can fold our seats down. We have our anchors and child tethers. Also, I forgot to touch base. In the rear of the vehicle, right in the center of the screen there, that is your release cable, so you can fold your seats down from the rear cargo area. We, of course, have vents across the top for your rear passenger. And at the bottom here, we have a USB and a USB-C. These are both charging ports. Great if your rear passengers have any devices that they need to charge. So let's hop in and get a better look at this vehicle. I'm just going down the driver door panel here. Locks, of course. Memory seats. I'll talk about those in a minute. Mirrors, window lockout and power folding mirrors. Express up and express down front windows, and then your rear window controls. The tailgate that I talked about, the power control is hiding in here, and you'll notice it has a max, 3/4, and an off setting. And we talked about that 3/4 setting a little bit earlier. Bose sound system, and then over here we have our controls for the seat. So if you're familiar with Cadillac or any premium vehicle, you should be very used to this. So we have our tilt up and down, forwards and backwards. We have our recline for the back of the seat, and then this smaller one here is for your lumbar, right in the middle of your back. Down here we have our power tilt and telescopic steering. So with the memory seats, what's really nice is your seat, your steering wheel, and your mirrors are all going to be programmed into that memory position. I'm going to go ahead and start the vehicle. And get the radio down. And adjust the fan speeds. Very good. So I'm going to start by programming the seat. I'm going to get it in a comfortable position and adjust the steering wheel to where I'm comfortable. And my mirrors are okay. And I'll push and hold the number 1 and the set button at the same time. You'll hear that beep, beep, beep. That means everything is programmed. I'm going to slide back a little bit, and I'm going to program our easy exit position. So again, you can adjust the steering wheel, you can adjust the seat. The mirrors are not part of the easy exit position. We're going to hit the easy exit button and the set button. Beep, beep, beep. It will save. So now I can move it into my driving position. And when I'm getting out of the vehicle, whether I have it preset in my radio controls or I want to hit the button manually, steering wheel will adjust and the seat will move into my easy exit position. I'm going to go back to driver 1 because that was a little more comfortable. On the side of the vehicle here, parking brake is an electronic parking brake. Push to set and you'll see it engages. You can hear it a little bit, and then to release, push it again. This will control your dash lights for how bright the dash and the radio system is at nighttime. During the day, it won't have any effect on the intensity of the dash display. While we're talking about the dash, we can review the steering wheel controls and your driver information center controls. Over here, we have our voice activation button for both the voice activation in the vehicle as well as Siri or Google Assistant. This vehicle has what's called pass-through or voice pass-through. Pushing this button and releasing it will activate the audio system or the voice commands for the vehicle. If you hold it, it will then activate either Siri or Google Assistant on your cell phone when it is connected via Bluetooth. Great feature if you've not started using some of the voice controls on your phone. They've gotten so much better. And by using the voice control on your phone, it is much more accurate than what is in just about any vehicle out there in the marketplace right now. Hang up button or the mute button if you're listening to the radio, and then we have our cruise control settings here. So this button is going to turn your cruise on and off. You can see the little white light showing that cruise is active, which means you can enable it. And then our set button down at the bottom here will enable it. And then of course you can resume and decelerate. This little button on the side here is your cancel button if you wanted to disengage your cruise control without hitting your brake. When you're pushing these buttons, you'll notice that there's kind of like two little indentations. So when you're resuming, let's say you just came out of a construction zone and you do the one indentation, it's going to go up by 1 kilometer per hour. If you allow it to double click, it's going to get you to the next 5. And then it's going to go up by 5. So if you're at 108, it'll go to 110, 115, 120. And going back down, obviously 120, 115, 110, 105, 100, depending on what the speed is in the construction zone that you might be in or any other speed limit that you're using your cruise control for. So really great feature, comes in handy. Below this, we have some of our safety features. The gap adjustment for our forward collision alert. Forward collision alert, it's going to let you know if you're getting too close to the car in front of you. There'll be a series of LEDs that flash out of here. And in this vehicle with the safety alert seat, you can either choose to have a vibrating seat alert or an audible alert in the event somebody stops rapidly in front of you and maybe you weren't paying as much attention as you should have been. So a really great feature in that forward collision alert. Occasionally, some drivers will find that they're getting too many notifications, and that's why they do allow you to adjust the gap setting. Below that is our lane keep assist. Lane keep assist uses a camera behind the rear view mirror here to take 12 pictures a second. It's reading the lines on the side of the road as long as the lines on the side of the road are visible, and it's going to want to keep you between those lines, not in the middle of the lines, but between the lines. If you get too close to one of the lines and you're traveling over 60 kilometers an hour to engage the system, it'll actually nudge the steering wheel to the right or the left to prevent you from going off to the side of the road. It is very subtle, but if you don't know that it's there, it might scare you the first time that it happens. On the display screen, you'll notice your lane keep assist symbol. When this is in green, that means the camera and the vehicle are picking up all the necessary information to activate the system. If it is not green, the system will not work. So traveling up and down some short hills may not be able to pick up the lines on the road. And of course, living in Canada with lots of snow, if the ground is snow covered, it will not pick up the lines underneath the snow. Heated steering wheel, can't forget about that. Great feature here in the wintertime as well as even the early spring and fall. Over here is to change your radio stations, so you can program your presets on your radio station and you'll be able to flip up and down using those keys. And at the top, of course, we have volume to the side here, and then this is going to control your driver information center. So that's what we're looking at right now. We've got a number of different things available in our information setting: tire pressures, average fuel economy. There's a blank page. I'm going to go into here for info page options. You can turn on or off a lot of these options. So if you like to have 2 trip odometers, you can ensure that you have 2. If you like fuel range, it's there. Oil life, always a good one to have, just so you can touch base on it when your oil life monitor kicks on. Or if you're planning a long trip and you want to make sure you've got lots of oil life. Tire pressure. Air filter life is a newer one. It's kind of nice. It measures how much air is coming through your air filter and whether it's getting dirty and needs to be replaced. It is an estimate, but it's great to have so you know that that type of service is coming up. Fuel economy, average speed, timer in case you wanted to time a trip or maybe a phone call that you were billing out. Following distance indicator, as long as you're within 2.5 seconds of the car in front of you, it will tell you in time how far you are away from the car in front of you. Really great feature to get you used to, what that 2-second distance looks like. Driver assistance, we'll see if we can take a look at that in a minute. And then, you know, if you're doing any type of towing or you're curious about your battery voltage, those can be turned on. For most people, it's not important and gets turned off. Off-road mode is kind of cool, although we are in an XT5, it's not likely to hit any extreme off-road situations. So this is the off-road screen. It shows what degree the steering wheel is on, whether you're on an incline or a decline, and of course a tilt right to left, and also lets you know if you're in two-wheel drive or all-wheel drive mode. Driver assistance, this is just another display screen for the lane keep assist that I spoke about earlier. And I think the others, there's our air filter at 85%. Oil life. While we're talking about oil life, your oil changes on a Cadillac are covered for the first 4 years or 80,000 kilometers. So whenever you need an oil change, contact the dealer, arrange to have the oil change set up, and those are complimentary through the Cadillac maintenance program. As I move across the driver information center, we have our music screen if you want to see what you're listening to on the radio. You can also have navigation directions show up with the navigation menu, and if you have your phone connected, then you can get the current call that you're on, as well as the single strength and battery voltage, or battery strength, sorry, remaining battery level on your phone. And then settings, this is where you're going to go from miles to kilometers. If you're doing some traveling, it's another place where you can access those info pages that I already changed. Display on your home screen, which is right up at the top here. We've got the speedometer and the fuel range. If you wanted to add time, we could add the time, and now that's being displayed. I'm back out of that screen. Speed warning, not something that gets used very often, but it does come in handy if you tend to have a heavy foot. Here in Canada, if you're 50 kilometers over the speed limit, you can have your car impounded and your driver's license suspended. If you don't want to get up that high, we can go ahead and turn this on. And let's see, we'll have it notify us at 140. That's 10 kilometers before we lose our license and get the car impounded, but still a pretty hefty fine if you plan to drive that fast. Set at 140, select, and now our speed warning is set at 140 kilometers. When the vehicle goes over 140, you'll get ding ding, and it'll remind you to slow down, although it will not prevent you from going any faster. To turn it off, simply hit the select button and the setting will turn off. Software information, that's just if you need any type of radio or software updates, we'll access that in our service department. And so that goes over our memory seats and a lot of our controls on the steering wheel. Lights, of course, fully automatic, although you may not be familiar with the automatic high beams. I'm able to get them to activate right now because it's bright enough outside. But with your automatic high beams used on, it uses the camera technology we have up here to tell whether you're approaching a vehicle or a vehicle is approaching you. And it will automatically turn on and turn off your high beams depending on your surroundings. Really great feature. If you've never used it, try it out. If you're on a test drive at nighttime, definitely try out that feature, get it somewhere. Works really, really well. I've had it in my vehicle for some time now, and I love it. So we've talked about lights, turn signals and wipers. Sorry, wipers on this side, turn signals on the other side. Let's take a quick look down the center console, and then I will finish up with the radio, which takes a little bit more information. So down at the bottom here, we have our mode button. When I'm pushing the mode button, we can sort through our all-wheel drive, two-wheel drive, sport mode, off-road mode. Interesting feature of the sport mode, most sports vehicles, race cars, they're all rear-wheel drive. And a lot of these SUVs are front-wheel drive based, even though they're all-wheel drive. So that's more power coming out of the front wheels. When you put it into sport mode, it turns it into a rear biased, so you're getting more power out of the rear wheels, and you will get a sportier drive, and makes it a little nicer throwing it around the corners. So that's our mode. Traction control, you can turn traction control on or off. Most people are familiar with traction control. It prevents wheel spin, but in the event you actually got stuck and you needed to kind of rock back and forth to get out of the hole, you would want to turn your traction control system off. This is new here. They moved our volume control. So nice and easy to get to. It's on the radio steering wheel as well as down here. But if you're used to looking for it up around the radio, it is there no more. And then we've added this system. It's a little difficult to show both, but you can see that you can turn through, and there's a little arrow down there at the bottom. So if I want to click down at the bottom now, I can use these buttons at the bottom. I'm just going to go into audio for a minute. So I clicked down to get to audio, and so now we can see the arrows. So if I push all the way over, I can now pick that I want to listen to FM, for example, and then I'll click, and we're listening to FM. I'm going to slide it or click it over one more. I'm going to go over again to sound, click down, and then this is where I can adjust the treble and the bass. Very easy to do. I know a lot of my customers don't like getting any fingerprints on the screen, and so this is one of those things that's going to prevent you or limit the fingerprints on the screen. In addition to the jog dial, we've also got speed buttons, which will get you to your music, telephone, and of course your home screen, which is where we started, and then your back button is over here. Also by your radio button, you can search up and down through your presets without having to move your hand very far. Climate control system. It's pretty cold in here right now. So auto climate control is a fantastic feature. If you haven't gotten used to using it, you'll notice the fan speed just kicked up. It's now trying to get the car at 19 degrees on my side, 20 degrees on the passenger side. And if the fan starts blowing a little too much, you can just turn the temperature up a bit and you will hear the fan speed drop. Heated seats on the exterior portions, just click on them. High, medium, low, and off. Well, that's pretty straightforward. On the radio, this is a newer button, near field communication. If you are an Android user, you'll probably know about near field communication. Apple has not quite gotten there yet, at least not for this vehicle. You can program your phone using near field communication, which is a little faster than your traditional Bluetooth setup. Mute button on the side, home button here. And then up top, we've got our parking sensors, which you could turn off, both your front and rear parking sensors. Start, stop. So the vehicle has a start, stop technology. You'll notice it says auto stop right there. Once you come to a stop in the vehicle and the car has already climatized itself and the engine's nice and warm, it'll turn the engine off when you come to a complete stop. Soon as you lift your foot off the brake, then the engine will restart right away. Some people don't like that feature. That's why we have the bypass. I feel the Cadillac does a great job. In most cases, it's a very smooth version of start-stop. The other big advantage I've noticed over some of the competitive vehicles that I've driven is if you're inching up in traffic, once the engine re-engages, it stays engaged. And it's not until you go over 5 kilometers an hour and then stop that the engine will turn itself off again. So I've been pretty happy with it. It is supposed to save some fuel, so it's great to have the option on the vehicle. Also nice if you don't like it that we can turn that feature off. I'm going to scan up to the top here. You will notice we have our OnStar buttons, our hang up button or our voice command button. This will bring you to a live OnStar advisor, and then this is your emergency button. So anything you might call 911 for, you can hit the emergency button as long as you have an active OnStar subscription. Airbag notifier over here. So there's currently nobody in the passenger seat and the airbag is off. If we did have somebody in the passenger seat, the airbag on light and the seatbelt light would illuminate. Up here is our interior lights. So they've been moved from some previous vehicles. So we have always on, always off, and then over here you can turn it off when you open the door. The lights won't come on. So we'll open the door right now, and so now the lights are coming on with this light illuminated. Now that system is off, and if we were to open the door, the lights would stay off. Close that up. Garage door opener, pretty easy to program. To program it, take your garage door opener, push and hold that garage door opener button, then push and hold this button until that flash pattern changes. When the flash pattern changes, release both buttons, and this button is now programmed. You may still need to go on your garage door opener and hit the learn button on the back of the garage door opener, run out to the Cadillac, push and hold the button for 3 seconds and release, and continue to repeat that until your garage door opener moves. If you do that for about 2 minutes and it doesn't work, you may have to look at some additional steps, but most of the time it will program. And behind that, this is brand new for 2020. Wouldn't have seen it in any other Cadillacs other than the Escalade. There is an interior alarm. So if you leave the windows down on the vehicle, you notice there's some vents here and down here. Windows down, alarm on, you reach your hand in, it will trigger the alarm. It will also trigger the alarm if you leave a passenger or a pet in the vehicle. So that's why they have this button, which will turn off the interior motion sensor should somebody stay in the car while you have the vehicle off and the alarm system activated itself. Sunroof. So we have our power shade, which is right here. And I apologize for the lighting. And anytime you want to stop it in between, just push it and it'll stop again. And then for the sunroof, we can vent it open, so just the back opens a little bit, and of course you can slide it all the way back, and you can see the shade is taking care of itself. So there's 2 final positions. I just hit that button one more time to get the sunroof to go all the way back. That's going to give you that nice large opening. That previous position that it stopped in is the quietest position. A little less sun coming in, but if you don't like your radio too loud, it's nice to have that quiet position. I'm going to close both of those up right now. Thanks for sticking with me. I see it's about 26 minutes worth of footage we've looked at so far, and we haven't even got into the radio. I'm going to spend some time on the radio right now.